I followed it from the start here, and it had this meteoric rise to fame. Something unprecedented in the trading card game community. MetaZoo exploded on a level that has never been seen before.
MetaZoo Games has, in fact, filed for bankruptcy. As of May 20th, they filed for bankruptcy, and that information is now publicly available.
I got this letter in the mail about the bankruptcy of MetaZoo Games, and there is this notice of possible payment of dividends.
MetaZoo was like, learn, you know, broken cards here. You think it's balanced, it's not.
New MetaZoo rumor. Rumor is the company is being purchased and coming back.
You know, with GQL, it's like this tremendous opportunity to like basically work with like the titans of the industry.
And Bigfoot. There we go. There's the rare. Very cool. Oh, and a super rare Mothman.
Don't give it one set. Give it a year. Let's find our beat together. Like let's do some cool things, and people will want to do cool things with us.
Apologies for reneging on not having the mustache anymore, but the girlfriend likes it. So, stays for now. MetaZoo is back for the third time. Wait, that crypto TCG? The third time? Didn't I watch your video saying it died? It's a long story. MetaZoo's first iteration did go bankrupt, yes, but it was bought out by MetaTwo Enterprises LLC, which is the funniest name I can think of for so many reasons. And for the last 2 years, after partnering with industry titans GQL, not only have they been active in reshaping the brand's image and developing a brand new game for it, but have released 3 sets under the new banner, which nobody seemed to notice. Okay, not nobody, but it definitely didn't reach the heights of its predecessor. And it's fascinating to see how many people online don't seem to know that it still exists at all. Well, I guess the people who were still trying to get the products that they paid for were aware of their existence, but we'll get into that. But before people even knew it had started, MetaZoo 2.0 was over. Or at least there's been a change in publisher, complete with an entirely new philosophy. Welcome to MetaZoo 3.0. So let's take a trip down memory lane to see what's transpired over these last 2 years with MetaZoo 2.0, and learn why there's been yet another change in management, and all the drama that comes with it. A special thanks to Nick Strength and Pokemon, whose interviews with key members of the MetaZoo team were a huge help and resource used for this video. I'll link his channel below if you'd like to take a look at them for yourself. And thank you, of course, to my lovely patrons who make this whole thing possible. And to Vince Kai-chan for the amazing music, as always. Links in the description below. First, I'll stand by what I've said in the past. MetaZoo was special, and I do mean it. A brand new IP tied to cryptozoology, or mythical maybes as I like to call them since these animals have only been rumored to exist, is a goldmine idea. A concept everybody knows and does not require heavy licensing fees is a great way to spark initial interest. So I can understand why a company might swoop in and pay $2 million to the rights to the IP to salvage it from the garbage bin. Yeah, that is what somebody paid for the rights, $2 million. Others have clearly had the same idea, such as the Cryptid Camp TCG that popped up after MetaZoo's dissolution, started by a Whatnot streamer heavily involved in original MetaZoo. It's easy to see why the watercolor charms and monster capture features, reminiscent of early Pokemon, might have value to a company looking to capture that market. But unlike new companies that have started to use these characters, the MetaZoo name itself comes with baggage. If you'd like an in-depth look into the issues with the original MetaZoo, you can go watch my video on it on my channel. But in short, a confusing gameplay experience, heavy investment in NFTs, unrelated brand crossovers, overprinting of subsequent sets, and an unwillingness to listen to community feedback led to an alienated fanbase. So in comes MetaTwo, headed by Charlie Herlocker, in an effort to get the train back on track. Charlie is an experienced collectibles consultant, having worked with Certified Collectibles Group, an organization with several different grading companies under its umbrella, including such names as JSA and CGC, not to be confused with CCG, a different prominent grading company that happens to share the same initials. My head's not spinning at all. Charlie and MetaTwo seemed to realize that the first issue to tackle was the gameplay. So we better bring in some experts. And God, did they really bring in some of the world's top experts. Enter GameCubator Labs, or GQL for short, a company built to help trading card games get up off the floor and develop. And would you look at who one of the heads of the company is? I can't believe it. The creator of Magic the Gathering, being brought in to consult and help fix one of the most blatant Magic the Gathering clones I've ever seen. Amazing. No notes. Universe scriptwriters could not write it any better than that. Also involved is Rick Ahrens, an industry titan who not only helped build the Pokemon Company International, but was at Wizards of the Coast during the founding of Magic the Gathering. In fact, he was so sought after and highly regarded that when Pokemon hired him away from Wizards, it was a key component in souring the relationship between the two companies. But if you're looking to improve the gameplay experience, I mean, why not bring in the best? The card design needed to change, of course. Original MetaZoo did improve in this regard as sets were released, but originally its cards were a mess of ideas. It was hard to make out what was what sometimes, with the tiny font, different text types, and a bevy of symbols. Introducing MetaZoo 2.0's card design. It's fine. The cards are perfectly legible, which is important for gameplay purposes. They make sense. But they do have that sort of generic flat sheen that sort of sucks out all the flavor, as if they've moved a little too far in the opposite direction. That seems to be a trend in card design over the last few years, from Altered to Lorcana to Riftbound, where aesthetics and flavor take a backseat to clean, functional design. The art direction itself also shifted away from whimsical watercolor to a more professional illustrated look, which put off some fans of the original IP. An attachment had grown to the knockoff Sugimori look, and for some, this just wasn't meeting that standard. MetaTwo tested the original gameplay model first with pro players before quickly realizing how broken the game was. The whole system needed to go. A lack of specific zones where card effects are determined by what cards your card is physically touching, or your proximity to a specific location or object, are things that will break your game. Where am I gonna find seashells? So for this next iteration, they decided to scrap the fourth wall breaking gameplay elements entirely. The original MetaZoo gameplay was not designed by some of the world's leading game design experts, so it's understand that it needed to change. OG Zoo was like if they had hired me to design the game. Someone who's interested and passionate about game design, but doesn't have the real world experience doing it, or the years of knowledge and know-how. I'm gonna f it up a bit. So here's the new gameplay system they came up with. Marvel Snap. I mean, kinda. Many players have compared the systems to being similar with the online superhero game, known for its quick, efficient gameplay. But to be fair, that's not irregular in an industry known more for incremental iteration than innovation. There's only so many games out there that work, after all. In MetaZoo, you're tasked with winning missions to score mission points, of which you must earn 30. I admit I'm a little confused by the flavor here and what winning missions has to do with cryptids, but whatever! You start with your caster. That's right, it's a hero game. We've gone commander. And interestingly, there's quite a strict deck building limit when it comes to factions, as the cards in your deck must share one of the same faction types as your caster. You have what's called an aura deck of 10 cards, which contains your mana, although only of one type. If you run 2 types, you put the second type of aura. It just says aside, not anywhere specific. So into the void with you. You set up your Terra in the middle, which have effects that influence the 4 lanes in the game you're fighting over. And from there, you go back and forth, tapping your auras for mana to play your units in the lanes. Each unit has an influence number that is the main way to score points. If your influence is higher than your opponent's in the same lane, you win the mission. It's a lot simpler than the strange Pokemon knockoff HP and attack values in the original game, that's for sure. There's other smaller interactions, like ways to mana fix and add your other aura type from wherever you put them on the side, and ways to do damage to your opponent's creatures, as is more common in traditional creature battlers, but that's the gist of it. Reactions to the gameplay are split. Common consensus appears to be those newer to the game, or who come in with an open mind, enjoy it, while older fans of the OG property feel like the charm has been sucked out of it completely without those wacky fourth wall effects. GQL was tasked with not only redesigning the game, but manufacturing, marketing, publishing, everything. Building that infrastructure takes time, so it took a bit to hit the ground running. But they finally debuted their base set at the end of March 2025. This relaunch of the game came with a ton of news, announcing a partnership with Collecticon for convention support, starter decks known as Flex decks, which could be broken apart so that one deck could be used for a 2-player game. Ah, see, that's what you get with top game designers. Cool, player-friendly quirks like that. OG MetaZoo hyped up large cash prizes for their tournaments, which puts a lot of pressure on the judges of these events. I mean, some of the old cards ask for you to cry. Imagine crying with cash on the line, and a judge has to come along and determine whether or not your crying is sufficient for meeting the card's quota. So there are actually a few different categories of meta effects within the old MetaZoo cards. I just wanted to show off some of my favorites. There are some that you can prepare for if attending a tournament. For instance, you may only use this power if a passport is within eyesight. Okay, so you flew to the tournament, so you of course have your passport on you, and maybe you got a little creative with your ensemble. If you are wearing fake blood, you may contract this beastie at any time. Could get a little awkward if some policemen come around questioning for an unrelated crime, but perfectly normal to dress up at different conventions, and if you're playing at conventions, sure. There are also some effects that you could hypothetically prepare for, but how is it going to be verified? This page costs no aura to contract if you swam today. Cool. Should you show up to the game with your hair all wet, your clothes not dry? You could just say you swam. It's a little hard to verify. Obviously, for the kitchen table, these are all fun and quirky, but in a tournament setting, a little difficult to judge. This page costs no aura to contract if you work in a factory. Great. If you are a wage slave, congratulations, you can play it. And finally, my favorite, if you are playing in Washington, D.C., this page gains blah blah blah. So if your tournament takes place in DC, that's great for you. Anywhere else, useless. New MetaZoo had more modest prizing and emphasized local play, although they did have tournaments at those conventions we mentioned earlier. For the most part, it was mostly hobby stores and conventions where cards were sold physically. But a desire to enter big box stores was formed, and the company managed to get blister packs into places like Target and Walmart. That sounds huge, and although sales numbers haven't been released, all indications from the company seem to show that sales numbers weren't exactly popping off like they would have liked. Considering the community felt like there was almost no marketing being done for the game, maybe that's kind of to be expected. But the game design team was still at it, and they went ahead and designed a consumer-friendly competitive product called Dynamic Decks. By God, I've done it! These decks were algorithmically designed precons that could be used right out of the box and were legal in tournaments where you faced off against other precons. No need to spend hundreds of dollars on an expensive deck. Hey, that sounds a lot like Keyforge, that other algorithmically generated deck game I covered by Richard Garfield. I wonder why that is. One of the biggest barriers to growth, however, was out of their hands. The online platform TCG Player, now owned by eBay, has a stranglehold on the secondary singles market for most trading card games. Whether your game is on there or not is often a make or break. If your game's not on there, there's really only so much you can do for accessibility and discovery of your game. Charlie described how he tried everything he could to convince the platform to take on MetaZoo as a supported game, but they wouldn't budge. Without that official support, MetaZoo was stuck as a once big fish in a small pond. What's even weirder is that Old Zoo is still supported on the platform, but for whatever reason, they won't seem to let the new game on. Odd. MetaZoo continued to release new sets, with Torrential Tides coming out in August 2025, and their third and final set, Secret Shadows, released near the end of November 2025. By the way, all of the marketing materials that I've found, most of it's come from their Instagram, which of course only goes to their followers for the most part, unless they're buying ad space. But it's mostly Instagram posts for set releases and the dynamic decks and flex decks. But on their YouTube channel, except for the launch, it has been mostly bare for so long. And fans have complained about the lack of marketing, and it's very evident that maybe that's why nobody knows about the game, which is weird. As you'll see in a little bit, they claim to have sold 2 million booster packs of MetaZoo cards, but nobody seems to know that the game still exists, and the lack of marketing maybe is a big part of that. Which is why when even the fans are complaining about a lack of communication post Secret Shadows, you know something's off. I mean, people were saying there was complete and utter silence for months. Well, not exactly silence, but fans were looking ahead and wondering, hey, what's the plan here? And for a while, these fans just didn't know. Things felt like they were at a bit of a standstill. The company had made a lot of claims as to the things they wanted to accomplish. An expansion of lore, an animated TV show, a digital marketplace, but a lot of people seemed to think those in charge weren't very interested in the IP or simply couldn't devote the time needed to the game, considering the other games they were also in control of. GQL is an incubator after all. They're trying to launch a lot of games off the ground. Charlie appeared on Discord and addressed some of the issues that plagued MetaZoo, as it was called. According to him, one of the largest problems was a huge push on global strategy for MetaZoo backfiring, due to the immense global tariffs that were implemented around that time. He acknowledged that the precariousness of the industry interfered with their ability to release more core sets on time. But he was insistent that they were rebuilding the pipeline for the continued health of the game, and even said that MetaTwo would step up and take a more active role in the future of the game. Turns out, oh, they were working on some things, and it was all revealed a few weeks ago. On June 26th, a major shakeup was announced. A new proprietary digital marketplace, a brand new website with online accounts, the return of classic MetaZoo, and oh yeah, a new owner, sort of. GQL sold the rights to the licensing and publishing of the IP back to MetaTwo, and will work in the background as merely a consultant from now on. Charlie left the position of MetaTwo Enterprises manager, succeeded by popular online personality Gem Mint Pokemon, aka Zach Browning, an avid MetaZoo fan who apparently came up with a bid to purchase a stake in MetaTwo and keep the game alive. Importantly, Zach has made a few public appearances online, giving explanations for why he thought the game was going the way it was and where he would like the game to go moving forward. He also happened to partially answer one of my biggest questions. What happened to all of those unfulfilled orders from the first iteration of MetaZoo? Did customers get their money back or receive some product at least? After all, as Nick Strength Pokemon's excellent insider video shows, we know that old MetaZoo was stuck with tons of inventory that they couldn't move at the time of bankruptcy. Even though customers had orders out for merchandise they had never received. Is this where it was all hiding? There are even YouTube comments claiming that they recognize some of the inventory in the video as having supposed to have gone to them. So what happened to all this stuff?
But we knew that a lot of the inventory had been like pillaged and stolen, and someone had even been arrested. And we knew that the inventory list was outdated. And so we actually were very unclear with what inventory was there, what was available. Essentially, the deal on the table was get the inventory out in a week, or you're going to pay like $5,000 a day to basically keep it housed. There was some outrageous amount of money to keep it housed. And the trucking cost to get the inventory out was like 150 grand. It was something crazy. When we were thinking about it, we're like, all right, we just dropped $2 million on trying to get this IP. We have to like run a new company. We need money to fund the new company. And at this point, we didn't even have GQL figured out. It's better for us to, sell it as is, where is. Whereas, we could have got the inventory and there could have been nothing there. Once we did the deal, we have no control over it. And so we never actually took any possession of the old inventory at all. Never saw it, never touched it. It was from the bankruptcy day one, we sold it as is. Obviously, Guo is a liquidator. They, Funko Pops, they do all kinds of items. They're experts liquidator. They're very, very good at what they do. Guo was exactly who they said they were going to be, and they did exactly what, their identity is. And so you can't really fault them for being themselves. I think it was.
So upon purchase of the company from bankruptcy, MetaTwo actually never took possession of any of that old inventory. They bought MetaZoo, realized it would be an insane expense to keep all of that MetaZoo inventory, and sold it off wholesale sight unseen to liquidators. So I'm pretty certain customers never ended up receiving their product. What is unclear is whether or not MetaTwo was actually responsible for the fulfillment of old customer orders. It could be that those obligations were held only by the first iteration of MetaZoo, and once they filed for bankruptcy, those obligations died with them. I don't know, I am not a lawyer. We do know, at least, thanks to Frankly Collecting's excellent video, that certain people were sent letters that said, hey, come get your money from the MetaZoo bankruptcy. It doesn't seem like everybody received those letters though, or maybe some people missed it. I know Nick Strength in Pokemon still hasn't received any compensation for his pre-orders, so things are still sort of up in the air. One fascinating tidbit, however, are the reports of thank you boxes showing up to people's doorsteps from MetaZoo 2.0 in spring of 2025. People on Reddit report to have never ordered anything called a thank you box and speculated that they may be some form of compensation for unfulfilled orders. Except for one person who claimed they never even heard of MetaZoo and still got one. Lucky guy. Moving on to the new state of the game, a lot of interesting tidbits were dropped during the big announcement live stream. When we could hear them, that is. Poor guys were having some audio issues.
And I think a lot of us have been really, really frustrated. And so I felt the need to really step in, really protect the brand, really just make the brand come back to the greatness that it once was and that it can be.
Okay, I feel a little bad poking fun about this. Technical difficulties happen to the best of us, and something always goes wrong. So it's only fair we go ahead and laugh at a few of my attempts to say one basic line. Importantly, Zach has made quite a few appearances, why he felt the need to come in and take over for, as well as... Importantly, Zach has... They launched the new website, which does look pretty slick and appears focused toward community building. And one feature I do like is the ability to scroll through a globe and find where each cryptid lives geographically. That's sweet, and that's what they should be doing with this IP. They're even going to burn cards to ensure the collector is protected. Wait, what?
And so we're going to do the right thing when things come. If we have extra cards that weren't distributed at events, we're going to burn them. We're going to probably show you guys a video of us burning them.
At first, I thought he was talking about all kinds of MetaZoo cards, but now I realize he's talking about promo cards, event cards, stuff that you're only supposed to receive if you show up to particular events. Exclusive items. Technically, after the events run their course, these cards are not supposed to enter circulation as to not cheapen the efforts made by the players who did show up to these events. So, I get it. I understand that if they continue to exist, the risk that they get stolen and enter circulation anyway goes up. After all, we know for a fact that original MetaZoo products have been stolen from inventory. There was even an arrest made over it. I know this might be a standard industry practice, but burning cards just sounds like such a waste. I don't know. Maybe shred them or something. That sounds more eco-friendly if it must be done. But this other comment about short printing sets did have me raising my eyebrows.
There's no risk of MetaZoo failing in the future simply because we're just going to shorten the print runs. We're going to make these things sell out. We're going to protect the collector. We're not going to do any reprints. We know how card games work. They die by overprinting. They die by charging too much. They die by ignoring the fans.
There are things I agree and disagree with here. Overprinting a set can cause a lack of desire for that set, causing the product to drop below MSRP. Distributors are unhappy and don't want to carry the product, and thus the game's popularity falls. From my understanding, that's a very real scenario. But I still think you need to strike a balance, and the words protect the collector and no reprints sounds like reserve list stuff. Lest we forget, OG Zoo actually implemented their own reserve list, which, yikes. If they're just talking about alternate art treatments and the like, okay, I get it. But card games need reprints of cards if you're going to keep the player base alive. Yu-Gi-Oh! Reprints their staples in accessible formats every so often because they know the player base would drop off the game otherwise, since staple cards are so difficult to get and expensive at launch. Hell, look at one of my favorite games in Sorcery. I love Sorcery, but folks online have been complaining about a difficulty in getting into the game. seemingly because they did not print enough of the latest set and stores aren't being allocated distribution. This has led to organized buyouts by bad actors of cards on the market, making game pieces expensive and hard to come by. So I do think a balance needs to be struck here if you're trying to keep your game accessible for players. That said, if you are a collector's TCG, that's okay. At least they're being transparent about it. I mean, it's just like if you're collecting coins, stamps, or anything of the like. Rarity is part of the appeal. If that's the product they want to be, I have no qualms with it. So overall, I think you, if you are interested, should be aware of the direction so that you know what you can get out of it should you choose to engage with it. On the other hand, Zach drops nuggets like these, which do appear consumer friendly.
And so why don't we start by just unbanning the Discord? You know, I feel like I can't quite hear everyone. So let's just unban the Discord and
I did hear stories under the old MetaTwo leadership of Discord users who criticized the company being banned, which is an interesting note, but nice to see a reversal on this for anyone who was criticizing in good faith, who received the ban hammer.
I'm a firm believer that anything serialized should be earned. So for the foreseeable future, you will not see serialized cards and booster packs, but they will be in events, things you can play. Go earn it, play the game, learn to play. But why don't we have the lowest cost products in the market? You know, our MSRP for a booster pack is $4.99 today. We're gonna drop that down to $3.99.
All right, okay. Making serialized cards rewards for players instead of putting them in product that causes them to sell out. Making product more affordable. This is all good. But the biggest and most bombastic announcement was yet to come.
And introducing now. MetaZoo Classic. The fans have spoken. We hear you. We know you want to play Old Zoo. I just can't imagine, you know, Post Malone just walking around just with a little birthday candle and jumping on a chair and screaming and this and that. Legends Expo, August 22nd, 23rd. We're going to have a side event supporting MetaZoo Classic. It'll be the classic format as the game is currently designed. I'm going to say this once. We're exploring the idea of printing legacy as is, as it was, and as you deserve. This is not currently on the roadmap, but I envision a future where we have the current MetaZoo as true competitive gameplay that can be played at the highest level. But we can also support MetaZoo Classic. We can support casual gameplay. And I think the old MetaZoo is one of the best games for tabletop at-home gameplay. It doesn't mean we gotta fight it out.
It's worth noting that the reprinting of old sets isn't actually confirmed, and Lord knows there's enough of the old stuff out there for cheap anyway, if that's what you want. But casual play events using old MetaZoo cards are planned to be held. It's nice to imagine a world where old MetaZoo is supported for the fans that it still has. But MetaZoo's big entry into a return to producing new product takes form in a special collector's set. Collector booster box.
I think most of you, like me, are just, what is the next product? When's coming out? When can I rip some new zoo? And so one of the first products we have coming out is Yokai Rising. Am I muted?
This set was designed under GQL, but Zach actually made the decision to reduce the size of the box to 6-packs at $10 a pack. $60 for 6 packs of cards is certainly expensive, don't get me wrong, but a far cry from Magic the Gathering's pricing. I mean, people eat these things up, can I really blame them for it? There are pros and cons to the collector booster box model for players, something that I plan to cover in a future video. While I can understand the benefit they may have for reducing the prices for non-premium card treatments, from what I can tell, Yokai Rising does appear to have mechanically unique cards included that you can't receive anywhere else. So a premium mini set with mechanically unique cards at a higher price from a company that says they won't do reprints, yeah, I don't know. It just sounds like you're risking the Dragon Lord outcome in Sorcery, inviting speculators to hoard premium products that contain unique game pieces until their prices are astronomical and regular people can't afford them. At the same time, Zach does stress that his version of MetaZoo will be different from the last one. How he's okay not trying to make MetaZoo explode in popularity or become one of the big boys, and If he has to run the company at a loss, so be it. He does seem passionate about the IP itself. I still think they have an uphill battle considering the reputation the IP has earned, but they do have a loyal fan base, and there are a lot of people who still revere the old MetaZoo, so if that's coming back, maybe they can pull it off. Is this property for me? Probably not. I've moved on to other things at this point. But as long as they're being open and honest with customers, you know, I wish them the best. I do these TCG documentaries quite often, and I've made quite a few now, so if you're interested in videos like these, go ahead and watch another one. And what are your thoughts on MetaZoo 3.0? Did you have any experience with MetaZoo 2.0? Let me know in the comments below. All right, Vince, take me away.